Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RapChat podcast. And before we head into the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, make sure to comment, and to subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcasts, make sure to leave us a rating, and also, please, leave us a review. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at RapChat Podcast, where we post new clips of the show every single week. I'm your host, Luke Dick.
I'm Les Eldridge.
And I'm Sam Kenny.
Alrighty. How does that feel to have the responsibility of the intro taken off your guys' shoulders?
Way more relaxing, man. I slept way better last night. It's all I could think
fell
about.
asleep just like a baby, just knowing that I didn't have to do that in the morning.
I was like paranoid you just weren't gonna do it.
I know, dude. I was thinking about just coming up here and just being like, I'm not doing it.
I know. I was like, I felt like I was jinxing it.
I know, man. I was on strike.
I think that's why they're down 3-0.
Yeah, that's actually why I wasn't on the podcast, guys. I was on strike.
Yeah.
I was striking the podcast. I just wasn't getting my fair share. I didn't believe that I was being valued as an employee here, so I just was on strike. So we struck up a deal.
It wasn't getting paid as much.
Yeah,
as we were.
Me and Elias are raking home most of the profits here.
It's like that We're the Millers thing. Oh, yeah. I can't believe I'm only pulling in 200. You're pulling in 200. I'm making 100. I'm like,
you guys are
making money. Okay. Anyways,
all right.
So guys, we do have a game to talk about, I guess.
Our Philly and Raptors game 3.
Game 3. The one game we were really excited, I think, coming into watching this game and hoping that things were going to. I think. Even though we lost game 1 and 2, I did still feel a sense of confidence going into game 3 that we could win it.
Especially because it was a home game, and I just didn't think we'd lose 3 in a row.
Exactly.
But I was mistaken.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we want to approach this? How do we want to talk about this?
Okay, so Raptors lost 104-101. Demoralizing loss. Safe to say the series is probably over at
Wow,
this point.
Sam. Okay, yeah, fake Raptors fan over there.
Yeah, I don't really have confidence.
We still have a chance.
I don't have confidence on a 3-0 comeback. Do you guys just want to get to like big themes of this one?
I think let's just talk about the biggest things. Because I think everybody knows. Everybody watched this game. Everybody kind of knows the deal. And I think there are just a couple things we do want to talk about. And I think there's a couple players we should shut out. I think definitely we should talk about the issues that we saw this game and why we lost this game. And
so there's 3 positives I see here.
All right.
And a lot of negatives.
Yeah, on the stat sheet there.
Yeah, I meant So do you guys have a certain aspect you want to talk about first? Because I've got one.
Do you want to start positive or start negative?
Negative. I think it's the whole positive podcast. Fucking pretty negative.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I do think we started the game very well. I think
that first half we were killing it.
We were really competitive. I think we seemed like a different team out there. It was very reminiscent of that first quarter of the second game. Yeah. And I've been watching a lot of the other playoff games too, and it just seems that especially with the Memphis series, with the Chicago series, with the Suns series and the Pelicans, like just a lot of the other games that are going on right now, it's a lot of back and forth. The Boston series, and I like seeing that. It's more entertaining to watch games. Like we were talking about when we watched March Madness, like the championship game, like how much more entertaining watching basketball is when the games are competitive and close.
Like they're meant for something.
Exactly. And that's the vibe that I got from this one. This felt like, the regular season games that we played tuned up, a couple notches. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the first half we looked really good. Like defense was awesome. Like they were totally out of whack. We were drawing so many charges.
Yeah. Another thing, we were causing turnovers, man. We were getting a lot of steals, man.
And we were really containing Joel Embiid in that first half.
Yeah,
which was very necessary.
He got loose in the second half.
And that's the biggest thing out of halftime was don't let Embiid get going, and it's like the exact thing we didn't do.
Yeah.
He had 18 points in the third quarter compared to his 5 points in the first half. Not good.
No, and I think the worst part of that second half was the offense really bought. We only scored 39 points in the second half, and I think it's like a combination of a bunch of things. Pascal and Fred just couldn't get like any sort of space. Yeah. Like they just couldn't get loose. Like
I wouldn't even say they couldn't get space. The thing is they weren't shooting at the right time.
Yeah.
So they were doing too much.
But I just don't. What else could like what is doing less though?
But
like, who does more if they do less?
Let's just I think we should probably run through the negatives of this and then maybe go through the positives, because I think that we should end on a little bit of a lighter note, maybe like negatives, positives, and then we sort of talk about maybe how the positives will lead into next season, because I don't think that this series is like really going to tell us much about how the Raptors are going to perform in the future.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like just to give the audience here a little bit more, structured thoughts from us, I think it's a lot easier to take away some of the negative things from this game rather than a lot of the positives. But let's just start off with everybody's takes that were,
Negative.
Not the greatest from this game. So why don't we start with Sam?
Okay, my I guess my thing I didn't love was the game plan in the second half on both ends. On the defensive end, I don't understand why we didn't adjust to take Fred off Tyrese Maxey. Like, Fred was obviously a defensive liability.
Man, that was a huge
been a thing
adjustment.
all
Yeah, he's been
when we had at the very end of the game, when we had Precious and OG switch. I'm sorry, yeah, Precious and OG switching from Joel and Maxey. That should have been the situation all game. We should have had OG on Tyrese Maxey as long and as much as possible. Dude, Fred can keep up with George Niang. George Niang is not the most explosive, or Danny Green are not the most explosive guys, man.
But I don't like Tyrese only had 5 points in the second half.
But it was breaking down the defense.
Yes, man, because we have to guard him out there, man. Like, and as soon as he drives and dribbles out, I think a lot of the threes that were shot from George Niang are off. Like, how many assists did Tyrese Maxey have? Didn't he have like 10 assists or something stupid?
He had 1 assist.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What? Just
he
kidding,
he had 9 assists last game, I think. So that's why. But my just thing was we couldn't contain any dribble drive, and a lot of that came down to the matchup of Fred on Maxey. And it's not even Fred's fault. He's just not athletic enough to stay in front of Tyrese.
He's getting blown by every single
time.
Tyrese's first step is really good.
Yeah.
It's elite.
And then after that, your defense is rotating and in vulnerable positions for the Sixers to attack, and it makes it easier on their other players. I would have loved to see a shift in the game plan where anyone but Fred was on him, really. Like, even Gary did a better job than Fred.
Precious did a better job than Fred.
Yeah, Precious. Like, I wouldn't have minded throwing Pascal's length on him. That worked for a couple possessions just to change things up
There's
for
so
him.
many better options than putting Fred on Tyrese, man.
Yeah, I would much rather see Fred on Harden if you had to.
Just having Tyrese get into the lane gives them so many options on offense.
Yeah.
And like that's every time down the floor.
Yeah.
They had a good shot, or they had a wide open corner three a lot of the times, and all this.
And then my offensive game plan. And I'll just say that the offense was all on Nick because Fred and Pascal really struggled in that second half. But they're not the type of players that you just flatten out and say, go beat this wall, right? They're walling up on both those dudes on all their actions. And it was forcing them to take those deep shots. Like, it was a combination of them not attacking right away, but also like Philly had a really good defensive game plan in this game. Let's not forget that. Like, especially when Harden fouled out.
But I still honestly think, man, I don't think Pascal was being aggressive enough.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. But I just think I would have loved to see Nick just run some sort of plays where OG come off a pin down and get a post up down low. Because OG had the advantage, and I don't think it was on Fred and Pascal every time down to find OG, because OG was spaced a lot of the time down.
Yeah,
but I think as the leaders of this team, they have to understand, like, this is not the right time to go ISO or something.
But what?
But Nick, like,
I don't want Gary going ISO though, right?
When I'm not saying Gary should go ISO. I'm just saying they should not be going ISO. They should do something else. They have plays that Fred can call.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were running the two-man game, and they were like the two-man game. They were just flattening out on every time.
And the two-man game wasn't working. They had 24 points combined this game, so they shouldn't have been doing it late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what was working.
What's our late game strategy though, other than the two-man game late in the game? Like,
we
haven't seen anything
other
all
guys
year.
open, man, and that's the problem. Is that we weren't creating for other guys when down the stretch.
We had plays to get them open.
Yes, man, and that's what was frustrating. Like I think one of the most frustrating moments, even though this was clutch, was OG's three, because that was just a random kick out at the end of the shot clock, and OG just happened to hit the three.
Fred drove, and he complained about a foul call. He just like underhanded whipped it out to OG, and OG luckily caught it and just made it.
Yeah, and then see, like, that is like, those are not reliable possessions. Those are and man, we saw a lot of those, dude. And
we didn't have a single good shot in overtime. A single one.
Even the ones we made were really tough shots.
The two we made were really tough shots.
Yeah, I thought our offensive game plan down the stretch, I thought Nick could have done a better job of, and if you're going to run plays for those guys, which I'm all for, I would have loved to see more creative plays run for them, but we haven't seen that all year, right? So, like, the Raptors have literally run the two-man game all year, and that was our one play kind of all year down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Pascal or OG in that one.
But I do want to say though, the half court offense did look very different in this game than it has in the last two.
Yeah, I mean, the last two it looked good. Like for considering the Raptors, like all things considering, the half court offense looked better in the first two than this one.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah. I did think so. I thought the half court offense, man, definitely you could feel had more of a. They were more spaced out. That was a huge problem in the last two games.
We had guys like Precious making shots, which helps a lot.
Yes, man, definitely. And like I guess he was 100% from three, man. He was 2 for 2. If only could be the same from the free throw line. But yeah, like that was a huge thing for us is having some more organization on offense.
And the biggest difference I saw between the first two games and this one, based on kind of how the Sixers were guarding, right? Because I mean, Pascal and Fred were able to get much more just space and freedom in the first two. Like their actions were working for Raptors actually scored well above 100 points on both of those. And I think the biggest thing was the Sixers were just like this one, they were really, I think especially when Precious or Kem were on, they were okay just fully walling up and using their length to block off any sort of, there was no dribble penetration in this game. Can you Precious had a few drives, but was there any dribble penetration?
No, man.
Even OG's, OG and Gary, were there, did they have any straight line drives? I don't remember very many. Right, it was all jumpers, almost all less dump off passes.
Gary had a couple, but he got fouled on a couple.
Yeah,
but
there was no dribble drive in this one. I think the Sixers that was their, and that was kind of their game plan in the first two games where they were
the paint.
and this one they were going full on clogging the paint.
But that's where I have a problem with Pascal Siakam doing too much late in the game, because all game it's been like that. But what he's trying to do is get inside, and then he becomes all Karis LeVert, and he literally dribbled for 15 seconds before taking a fadeaway over Joel Embiid. It's you have to know that you're not going to get inside, so you have to do something else, because that's what he was just trying to do, and he lost his handle and pulled up a turnaround.
Exactly, man.
It's that's where you guys got to recognize your situation, and you got to understand something else has to be done. You can't do that.
Yeah. That was frustrating. Yeah. Elias, you want to go ahead with your maybe a negative that you took away from this game?
I mean, it's kind of what we just talked about with my biggest problem, but it is just the lack of showing up from our two best players. Even after game two, Fred said, "Yeah, it's my fault. Blame it on me. I got to be better." And he doesn't back his words up. He has the worst game of the series. Fred had 12 points on 3 for 13 shooting, 2 for 10 from 3. Pascal Siakam had 12 points and 4 assists. Fred had 9 assists. Pascal only had 4 assists on a 6 for 16 shooting. And it's just in games like this where it's must win. If the series was on the line, this game, this is the must win game. And they just didn't show up. Simply, they were trying to do too much, especially at the end of the game. In overtime, they were trying to do too much. And it just, you really want to see them create for guys like OG, Precious, Gary, who all had better games than them.
Yes, man, literally.
How do they do that though? Late in the game,
you run a play, Sam.
But we haven't seen that all year
plays,
though.
We've seen plays for guys like Gary and OG.
Yeah,
to get
but
open.
Is that on Pascal to run? Let's run these pin down screens for.
Yes, they have to understand.
Gary.
They have to understand the situation.
And man, let's also be real. It is not that hard to run plays for guys. We don't overcomplicate this. It is not hard to set an off-ball screen to get somebody open. That is, or even just a pick and roll.
Gary
screen.
and OG had the ball in their hands way less than Siakam and Fred did in overtime.
But do you trust Gary and OG to be the creators with the ball in their hands?
Yes, in this game more than Fred
really?
and Pascal.
Definitely.
In this
trust
game,
them
yes.
to make the extra pass?
And no, in this game, I trust them isolation more than I trust the other two, because the other two did nothing all game.
I trust OG more for sure, because he had they were throwing no one on him, they were putting Harden and Danny Green on him. I totally they did not show up. I totally am with that. They did not have good games. They had their worst games of the series, obviously both of them. But I think a lot of it came down to how much the Sixers were switching. And how little
that's when you got to understand the situation.
Yeah,
but
man,
our screen actions, our screen actions
to...
weren't doing anything though, because they were just switching every screen.
Yeah, but you got to just do something else. They're doing the same thing over and over.
Man.
Pascal was getting stuck in that mid-range section many times.
Too many times, man.
That's what you just got to understand. This is not working.
Exactly.
Let's try something else. Let's get the ball to OG. Let's get the ball to Gary. Let them create. Because
I
guess the 2 times that OG and Gary created in overtime, it was successful.
Mm-hmm.
And Fred and Pascal was not successful at all in the last 2 in overtime and fourth quarter. And they combined for 3 points in the fourth quarter and overtime.
And I have another problem too. It's with Fred as well, and that's that we know Fred is not at his peak health, but it's if you know that, you have to now figure out how you're going to be effective in this
Yeah,
game.
you can't keep the exact same way you're playing. And
Exactly.
And then after the game say, well, I know he didn't say this, but I'm just saying, like, and then you can't say after, oh, I'm hurt though. It's like, okay, you gotta switch up what you're doing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's the frustrating part is if you know, it just seems it seems like he's like, do you really know what you're doing? Like what about what you're doing is wrong? Like, you know, like what exactly do you believe that what you're doing is wrong about your game? Because obviously Fred hasn't really had great games. I really wouldn't say Fred has had really any great games in this series, to be honest. Like he hasn't, man. His defense has really not been there.
It's been a really tough defensive series for him.
Exactly. Yeah. And I understand that, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like, bro, like I think Malachi gave us way better defensive minutes.
On Max,
and exactly. And just like I think Malachi almost gave us just honestly generally better minutes than Fred. Like I'm not saying that Malachi can do all the things that Fred can do. I'm just saying that
he was more of a positive.
He was more, he was just more of a positive. And like, you know, it was just frustrating because it's like, Fred, man, you got to do a little bit more self-reflection and really start to criticize what you're doing is wrong because, dude, like, you have to be a threat out there. And he wasn't. He just wasn't. I don't think the Sixers really saw him as much of a threat.
No. And what really made me angry was that one play where a screen was set for him, and he took one step off the screen and tried to pull up for three and got blocked.
Yeah, I know, man.
And that was like 5 or like 10 seconds into the shot clock.
Didn't he get blocked from behind? Like, yeah, I know, man.
Because he did. He in his head
was
before the play
complaining
even
about it
happened,
too,
he
dude.
said, "I'm gonna come off the screen and shoot." He didn't read the floor. He thought in his head, "I'm gonna come off the screen and shoot," and then he did that. You gotta leave options open for yourself, and then that resulted in getting blocked by Tyrese Maxey.
Exactly, man.
So in this game, I would have liked to see it even higher, but OG had a 25% usage rate. Gary had 22. Fred was all the way down at 16, which feels wrong because he had a lot of. I don't know how usage rate is.
The ball was in his hands a lot.
Yeah, I don't know how usage rate is. I don't know if it's like on like scoring possessions, but I would have just
an estimate of the percentage of team plays used by a player while they were on the floor.
I don't even know if I'd want to say I wanted OG especially to be more involved. Gary, I didn't want Gary necessarily to be more involved on ball just because that's not his game. But OG, I would have loved to see, not even like guys. I don't want like OG was out of the 3-point line a lot, which is I love that. But I would have loved to see like actual post up, mid post plays run for OG, especially with Embiid on Pascal late in the game, and have Pascal go far corner, far wing. And I didn't see any of that. Like out of the timeout, like, there's so many out of timeout plays where part of this was the Sixers defense that they were switching on our inbound plays. So it was kind of hard to get like.
But you have to credit the Sixers defense because it's been
It was.
way
Oh,
better
yeah.
than it usually is.
Their game plan, their defensive game plan has kind of been what is the textbook game plan against the Raptors, right?
Yeah, and
you
like-
wall up against Siakam drives and
Yeah, like Doc Rivers is really like shown he still knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
and all their like kind of iffy defenders have all had nice like Tobias Harris
Harris
has
been
been good,
an elite defensive series, man.
and they've kind of done a good job hiding guys like Niang, who like normally the Raptors would just
Kill.
kill, and Danny Green looks a little bit better than he has in recent years.
Mhm.
And I think that's like, and this is maybe a broader issue for the Raptors moving forward is like, how do you have that dribble creation? Because the playoffs, there isn't getting to the rim, right? Like you need, like a lot of the top playoff teams, you win by hitting those
Especially
tough
against
mid
Jordan.
range, right?
Man.
Like there's a lot of mid range. Like look at the Suns, right? They take a lot of mid range pull ups. The Suns don't even get to the rim at all in the regular season.
DeMar DeRozan had 41 last night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All mid range.
So I think you need to look forward. Like this is going to be like a trend. Even like Scotty, like when Scotty's gonna be a guy who lives at the rim. But come playoff time, you're gonna see his rim frequency go way down. Like it just, that's kind of the nature of the playoffs, right? So I would love to see,
especially when like somebody like Giannis is guarding him. It's like, bro,
even Giannis. You see Giannis takes a lot more mid range shots in the
even
playoffs.
Embiid had a lot of
Yeah.
mid range at the elbow this game, and he made them all. And like he had that one turnaround off his left foot,
he
which
hit
is a
big
crazy
shots.
shot.
Yeah.
But
I would love to see more. Like I think a part of that is getting more 3-point shooting, so you can make the walls less effective.
even when Precious had a great 3-point shooting game. Gary and OG are both efficient, and then Fred's usually good. Like even like I don't know how we can get more 3-point
I just
shooting.
said more guys, like more. I don't know. Like I would just think of like a guy who can just take a pull up jumper consistently, because we know Pascal can do that, but that's not like full on.
He also wasn't doing that this
That's
game.
not his game, right? Like it was working for him in the first half, but the second half it wasn't working for him. I just think you see teams with. I also think pick and roll creation is important. That's why I look to OG because Fred's pick and roll creation is very different from other players because he's so short. He
Also,
can't
yeah,
get to
also,
that mid range.
I'd much rather Pascal be the handler in a pick and roll situation than Fred.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't see any of that.
No, we didn't. We
Like
usually do.
the inverted pick and rolls where Fred flares out.
Yeah.
We had one and Fred rolled.
and Fred didn't. Yeah.
It was like, why are you rolling into Pascal? Like it was too much Fred. Like I would have, if Fred's on ball, I'd like to see OG screening where OG can flare out.
I just think overall this game, it was too much Fred and Pascal not playing like Fred and Pascal. And that's ultimately why we lost this game.
And that's the problem. Is like, dude, if you guys are not playing within your own strengths, you need to adjust and figure out ways to win. Because let's just be real, man. This was a very winnable game.
Oh, yeah. We had plenty of opportunity to win this game.
Absolutely. And I think probably the biggest takeaway, that, like on the negative side that I had from this was, since this was such a winnable game, I think, people want to complain about this or that, the refs or free throw shooting and whatnot. This game specifically, I personally think was lost by Pascal and Fred. Mm-hmm. I think that they didn't show up for this game.
And that's what happens when your two best players don't show up, you lose. DeMar DeRozan first game against the Bucks, there was a close game, but he did not show up, and they lost.
And that's the thing, is not only are you guys not doing the things that you are supposed to be good at, but you're not adjusting. And Pascal, we just saw too many times just with the ball in his hand for too long, man. It's just like doing nothing. You have to give it up. Another criticism I have of Pascal is he was not aggressive enough. It's like, bro, you can beat George Niang off the spin move, man. You absolutely can do that and pull up for a mid-range jumper, and you never did that.
He didn't have Niang on at all, though. Like they did. Like
I know, but
they double teamed when Niang was on him just to get Niang off of him.
Yeah, but there were times where he was isolated like that, and Joel Embiid was he had the lane open. Joel was not really helping that much. There's times where Pascal would drive to the basket and Joel wouldn't even help at all. Like, it's like, man, you got to be able to recognize that sort of stuff.
Wish I could see drives on here.
Yeah,
wish they calculated drives because
also Pascal shot 0 free throws this game.
Exactly, bro.
That shows that he just couldn't get to the rim, and I think he was not able to create space against there. And I think that's I hate saying that guys didn't show up because I like saying more like guys just had bad games because these guys.
No, but they didn't show up.
No, I know they didn't play well, but I just there was real strategic reasons that the Sixers executed.
But that's when.
That shows that they exploited the limitations of these players.
But
that's when you got to step up, man.
Yeah, man.
Teams try to teams game plan around Giannis and Embiid.
They're just way better players,
but they adapt.
Well, because they're superstars.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Where we need, if we want to win games, we need guys like Fred and Pascal to be to be able to adjust.
Well,
they just can't.
I think this is a better way to say it. That Fred and Pascal, the Sixers game plan was done in a way that it really Fred and Pascal are not the Embiid or even the DeRozan level scorers. Maybe players as well, or a player, but I think their game plan really exploited the weaknesses of those players, and we all know that they're not going to be we're not winning, we're not going deep in the playoffs with those two, right? We all talked about it's going to be Scotty, right? We hope it's going to be Scotty as the main guy. Mm-hmm. I think the Sixers game plan really showcased those guys aren't Fred's not a great shot creator, but Pascal's a fine shot creator for his skills, but we also showed that his shot creation skill set isn't
enough.
But it also isn't he's not not good enough, but also not tuned for the playoffs. It's not a skill set that lends well.
He would work so well. If Scotty was 25,
exactly,
they would be perfect together.
Where he's the second guy.
Yeah, exactly. And Pascal that's why he worked off Kawhi so well, because Kawhi was just be able to. He's not only a scoring machine, but he just demands attention. And Pascal can use that and exploit that another guy can receive that attention, and then when all of that focuses on the other guy, Pascal, it opens things up for him. Mid-ranges, getting to the rim more easier.
It's just getting to the rim. Having the space to get to the rim. That's when he's at his best. The mid-range stuff is awesome for Pascal, but it's a counter.
I know I brought up DeMar a lot this podcast today, but another example of this is DeMar DeRozan when he was on Toronto. Is as good as he was from mid-range, it was not as refined as it is now. Yeah. So, and that's where they were exploit. Same thing as Pascal, where a lot of his game comes from that mid-range in between the free throw line and the three-point line area. And it's just not that great yet, so they can exploit it. Philly can exploit it. And now you see DeMar, where it's much more, his game is much more refined in the mid-range, and now he can actually play in the playoffs.
And also another thing, too, is that I think another reason why we saw DeRozan's struggle in the playoffs was because he was basically being asked to do what Pascal is being asked to do now without a guy like I think if DeMar and Pascal were playing with each other right now, we would have a very similar situation because DeMar would as Kawhi and Pascal,
Right.
because DeMar would demand that attention, and I think that from mid range would get that respect, and then it would allow Pascal to get to the rim a little bit easier. I mean, it probably would still clog up the paint.
And that's what we said all year, right? Pascal Siakam, like he's a number 2 guy. Like we all I don't think that's we all know that he's an awesome player, and this game means like this isn't like an affront on his skill set or anything. It's just like teams in the playoffs really. Like they load up on the best players, and Pascal and Fred got totally loaded up on, and they're just not that level.
And there's not good enough to go against it.
Like there's 10 guys in the league that can just say, I don't care what you throw at me, right? Like, I'll just shoot over you. I'll get to the rim anyway because I'm just brute force like Giannis, right?
But just another thing with this is that like when that happens, we need the rest of our guys to show up, and they did this game. So that's the most frustrating part is that everybody, Precious,
everybody else was there, man.
Precious, OG, and Gary all showed up, which does not happen very often, especially we've seen the playoffs so far. This first 3 games.
Yeah, it's been the other way around almost.
Yeah, and we just couldn't get the win because our 2 main guys couldn't do it.
We almost won it without them doing enough.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what? One thing I'd really like to see for next game, I don't really give a shit if we win or lose because
it's done.
I don't want to, and I'm not trying to be negative Nelly here.
But it's never happened before.
Yeah,
it's literally 0, whereas it's like 0 for 150.
Exactly, especially because they got the home court advantage, and it just doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't look good for us. But that doesn't mean we can't win one of these games.
No.
And prevent it from being a full on all out sweep. One thing I would just like to see is just more creation for other players and recognizing if your other guys are going off, find a way to get them the ball in the time that they need to get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Pascal, draw that attention. Get B double teamed. Give it to OG then. Give it to Gary. Like, run plays for these guys. Let's get some more offense flowing, and let's actually try to allow our other players to shine through when our stars are being stifled. You know,
it's too much ISO, too much hero ball.
I think it's where we missed Scotty too, because Scotty could have taken some of that, or Scotty could have maybe not taken the attention, but he could have exploited the guys that were leaving off of Fred and Pascal.
Yeah,
and I think you missed that. Like, for as good as OG and Gary are, Scotty's the better guy making decisions with the ball in his hands. Right, those guys, Scotty and OG are still. I mean, Gary and OG, especially Gary, they're mainly off-ball players.
Yeah.
Right? They're not primary scorers.
No, you don't say, here's the ball, go make a play with them.
Right. And sadly, that's kind of what the playoffs is, right? The playoffs is hero ball. For the most, like, down the stretch, it's hero ball.
It really is. Yeah.
Right? So we wish we had a better hero ball.
Yeah.
Like, shot makers, right? We just don't have any guard, pull-up shot creation.
That overtime was the most atrocious thing I've seen all season.
Yeah.
It was
and, like,
brutal.
you know what?
They were so much better with the Harden off before. Like, with Harden off, they could be so aggressive, too. Like, they could
They just didn't take advantage.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to just say this as well. This is because there's a couple things that people that of course we saw on social media people talking about. Man, like, I really don't blame Precious for missing those free throws. No. He's not the greatest free throw shooter in the world. And like he is 22 years old. And you know what? I only put so much responsibility on Precious for missing those free throws because he just. Man, he's a 59% free throw shooter. He's not proven himself in the free throw line at all this season.
No.
And would have been awesome if he made those free throws. Yes. Is that why we lost the game?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
And
Precious gave you an awesome night.
Exactly. And we can say, oh, Gary missed this 3, OG missed this, so whatever. I don't think those are the reasons why we lost.
It's not a one-play thing.
No.
I hate when people blame losses on one play or whatever. It's like,
you don't know what would happen if that play was made.
Sometimes it is that. Sometimes it does come down to the very wire. Two teams are super competitive. Like I think that
Embiid shot won the game.
That's not. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention too. Is that the Joel Embiid shot, that 3-point did not they won the game
because of that shot, but that's not
why we lost. Yeah, exactly. And
we had plenty opportunity to win this game that we didn't take advantage.
What were we up in the first half? Like we were up at one point. At one point though, we were up like 15 or 16. I think.
Yeah.
You can see largest lead here somehow.
But another thing I also want to mention too is yes, like I don't know, man. We are clearly in need of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we need something.
Like we are clearly missing an integral part of this team. We don't
Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, well, man, and that's true, man. Like it is true, but it's just, timelines and whatnot.
Yeah.
It just sucks that these guys have to be like, because by the time Scotty's 25, Pascal's
He's gonna be like
32,
33.
Yeah, like that makes me feel weird
Old,
that like
yeah.
he's gonna be there. That's weird.
Remember when he got drafted?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, like I agree with what you said that sometimes it can be one play. Like you look at the Boston Brooklyn game one. That game was back and forth all game.
Right.
None of them had really glaring holes in their game. It's just Tatum had that final shot. Yeah, you look at games like this where we could have been way more aggressive. Harden fouled out, and we didn't take any advantage of that.
yes, man.
And we had Fred on Maxey all
Yeah,
game.
even
and
after Harden fouled out, that made no
the
sense.
first time they took a lead was in overtime, and it was Tyrese doing a reverse layup on Fred, and it's like,
And then after that's when we put OG on him.
Exactly.
It took a whole game and a little bit of overtime to
3
put
games.
OG. It took 3 games and a little bit of an overtime to put OG on Maxey, which worked way better. And then you just put Fred on Danny.
Yeah.
And that worked fine. Like,
Toronto led for 44.5 minutes. Philly led for like just under 3 minutes.
yeah, man. Okay,
tough.
let's switch it up and let's change to a couple positives. Now I want everyone to go around the circle, and I want you to say something positive.
Say your name and something you like.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Positive maybe won't be necessarily for next game because I don't think it's really going to matter. But I just positive in the grand scheme of things is how good Precious looked on both ends. Once again, just
Dude,
His ability-
especially guarding Joel, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He guarded him in isolation quite a few times.
We have to highlight that Joel Embiid only had 5 points in the first half, and that's all because of Precious Achiuwa.
yeah, and they were doing the Precious Boucher doubles with like those arms.
Yeah,
like,
and he had 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of size and experience in difference between Precious Achiuwa and Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
One is an MVP. One is his first
second
year
year.
actually getting minutes.
yeah, and he looked. I'm so
Precious
excited.
was in the Rising Stars stuff. Like, I mean, not Rising Stars. Is it Rising Stars?
Yeah.
Rising Stars. Yeah.
Yeah,
But he's the last pick.
I'm so excited for his future. I think he's going to
Yep.
be so good. His ability to hit those threes and then just take Embiid off the dribble and finish. Precious is kind of a center. He's more of a power forward, I think. in a
He is, but he's gonna play center for us.
Yeah, and I just think there's not a lot of guys like who can do that. Like, think of Pascal at 22 and Precious at 22. Precious is a much better player, especially on defense.
Wasn't Pascal a rookie when he was 22?
Yeah. So, and Precious' defense to do that in a big playoff game where he had a bit of an up and down first 2 games, to come out and just really he didn't. What's so crazy about Precious is that his instincts and his defensive IQ are just so amazing. Yeah. Like, he doesn't take bad fouls. He doesn't. Like, he always, like, you're like, oh, Precious, you missed that rotation. Like, he's always making the right rotation. He's so good at reading plays.
He never makes a mistake on defense that
Never.
I noticed. Like, nothing glaring.
Yeah. He's so polished on that end already at 22. Like, I think he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year at some point. I'm just going to say that. And then offensively, had some like really awesome like eye-popping plays and finished his easy plays as well. So
And that's going to get more consistent as time goes
Yeah.
on. Because it's really one game you have 21 game he'll have 6 or 4
Yeah.
or something
Yeah,
right now.
yes.
But that's just him being young. But that'll get more refined and
great job, Precious.
He had some great drives to the basket. I remember he had a couple of those layups around Joel Embiid, man. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
he shot 9 for
"Jeez."
11 this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, he was much more aggressive.
35 minutes to off the bench. Like, that's a big responsibility.
Yeah, dude. And like, you know what? I mean, we kind of have to give him those minutes in a sense because Kem's not doing it for us. He's not
No,
quick
tough
enough.
game.
Yeah, it's just not that I really think Kem's played bad this series. I don't think so. But
He's played as good as Kem Birch can
yes,
play.
he played what you expect out of a guy like Kem.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, Kem.
but I do agree with you, Sam. I think that this series, if any, or this game at least, has really shown Precious's potential. And I think that, man, going in forward, Precious and Scotty are going to be a problem, man. I think that we've got something brewing there.
You got Gary there who's just turned 23. Like this team is the average age is 25.2.
And OG who's only 24.
Yeah, the average age of this team is 25.2 years old, which is the same as Detroit, Orlando. And still is younger than San Antonio, for example. There's a lot of potential with this team, and if like losing the series does not say anything to me.
No.
I don't care.
No,
I don't care.
definitely
Well, it
not.
shows what
Maybe I was a little overly optimistic about
Definitely,
the series.
but also I wasn't expecting Philly's defense to be this good.
Phillies
Yeah.
played way better than I thought they'd play.
Yeah.
And also I think that's just take into account how different the playoffs and
playoffs
regular
is
season
than
are.
regular season. Yeah.
They really put the gas pedal on the playoffs.
And sometimes talent just wins in the playoffs.
That
like
means
it's not
you
atmosphere.
don't win a championship without a superstar. It has
Yeah.
not happened since the Detroit Pistons, which
Yeah.
they had like 5 All-Stars on their team.
It's hard to win playoff series without a superstar.
Yeah.
Like, and I think
And man, Tobias Harris, man,
he's played well.
very well.
His defense on
Very
Pascal has
well.
been very good.
And his 3-point shooting shooting, man. Even in this last game, it wasn't as good, but it still was pretty fucking good.
Well, no,
like,
after we seeing him the first 2 games, we really got to take into account his 3-point shooting and really.
he still
get
shot
really close.
33% from 3. Like, that's not bad. Like,
No, he just didn't shoot as much this game. He only took 9
Exactly.
shots this game.
yeah.
I think it also didn't account for how good Maxey was going to be
Oh yeah, I mean,
and how accustomed we are to stopping him.
I watched a good amount of Philly games this year, and I knew Maxey was good, but like he's been on like another level
Yeah.
in this series.
I think it's
It's because Fred's guarding him. All
it's a bad
series.
matchup for us.
a very bad
Without that
matchup.
big rim protector down low too, he just
Yeah.
kind of has a free lane to the rim.
Yeah,
every
and his
time.
floater is like automatic too. So
Yes.
without having that rim protector, especially, he can just take that floater. The same thing with like guys like Trae Young.
Yeah, and Harden hasn't been dominant, but he's been like
Effective.
He's been James Harden. Like
Yeah.
he's made really good passes and he's hit threes.
He has hit really important shots.
And then Joel Embiid's playing like the best player in the world right now.
Which he is arguably already. So yeah, it is what it is.
Do you have positive that you want to bring up?
Yeah, I guess I want to. I said this last podcast, but again, I want to shout out Malachi Flynn just for the minutes he's been on, and
definitely.
and he hasn't scored a single point this series yet, but that's not what we asked him to
Yeah,
do
but he's
right
been
now.
good. Yeah.
He's been very solid. He's been a better defender than Max.
Wait, he hasn't scored a single point this series? What are you talking about?
He hasn't scored a single point this series.
What?
Yeah, he hasn't. I don't think he took a
That
shot in the
doesn't
last
seem
game.
right.
I don't think he took a shot in the last game, did he?
I don't
know.
think
He was like 0-4. He 0 here.
Dude,
game
Chris
2.
has had like some putbacks and
No,
stuff. dude.
Malachi.
No, Malachi.
Oh, Malachi. I was talking about Chris.
What are you talking about, Chris? Malachi's
Malachi
name
does,
like
yeah.
3 times.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn. I don't know. For some reason, I heard Chris. I don't know why. I was
No,
like,
Chris
wait,
was garbage. Just
No,
kidding.
yeah.
I'm
Malachi
joking.
hasn't.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's
Malachi
fine.
hasn't scored it. Yeah,
No,
that makes
but
sense. Yeah.
but him being on the floor, he's been a positive for us, and just having, especially with guys like Thad, who is injured right now, and
Right.
Gary, his first game not being sick, him stepping up and being an actual NBA player, because a lot of our guys on our roster are not actual NBA players right
Yeah.
now. So him stepping up being an NBA player is very helpful, and I don't want that to go under the radar.
Gary said he's lost 8 pounds while being
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, and he had a fever 102.
Yeah,
That's
the day
scary.
before the game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
I hope no one else is getting it. Like, jeez.
I don't. He wouldn't have played if it was like actually.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's kind of scary.
He's still kicking though.
One thing I do, like one positive thing I want to take away from this game was I think we did so much better of a job creating turnovers, and that is like one of the reasons why I think we were so close in this game was because we were very aggressive on defense. I mean, the reffing was much better in terms of I mean the one play that did irk me was OG's should have been steal. Like that was just I don't know why they called that a reaching foul. It was all ball.
And
In hindsight, we should have challenged that. 'Cause we didn't use our challenge.
I know.
We always challenge
We-
all
we-
game.
Yeah, I know. We
Yeah.
definitely should have challenged. I think Nick was just holding on to it, being just in case because
Yeah.
he knew the game was close.
Yeah,
But
that's the tough thing about the NBA and their challenge rules, man.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
you lose it once you use it.
Yeah, even if you're successful.
Yeah.
well, and I also want to give a shout out to Nick Nurse though too, because man, I honestly think he did the best job he really could with what he's given right now. I think that just the series has shown us that we are missing pieces. This isn't a complete team. Not that we were really expected to be, but
It just hasn't until this game. The series wasn't competitive at all.
yeah. But I was more impressed with our defense this game, and I was very happy with basically how everybody but Pascal and Fred played. I mean, not that I'm extremely upset over Pascal and Fred and how they played, because I did think Pascal, like obviously he made some really tough shots, and Fred made some good plays as well and good in clutch threes. But like, I think that if we are really talking about our young guys right now, we have a really, really solid future for the team.
Like our very young guys. You mean like
Gary,
Yeah.
OG,
Precious.
Scotty, and like Scotty first game against
Almost had
Philadelphia
triple-double.
76ers almost had a triple double.
Yeah.
like
His
that's
first
crazy.
playoff game.
Exactly, and he was out in the third.
Like start of the fourth.
Start of the fourth, exactly. So
I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't play next game.
Yeah, I
There's
don't
there's
think
no
so.
reason to play him. If you cut it to like 3-2 for whatever reason, then put him in. But don't force it.
No.
Yeah,
It's all good.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
No.
All
right.
We've kind of gone long here. Eh?
a little bit. Yeah,
I thought we were gonna try to like not talk at all about the game.
Well, I
We're
think
gonna
this
be
was
like, dude,
this was
This
the
is a good
deciding
game.
game.
Yeah,
This was the
yeah.
deciding game.
There's
It
a lot
was.
more going on. It wasn't a blowout.
Yeah.
And I want to say thank you, Raps, for doing a better game.
Yeah,
I want
man.
to
Shout out Mark Davis. Is that his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
Mark
guys-
Davis
Mark
usually
Davis.
does some.
You guys weren't
Ugh,
perfect, but this is the best game I've seen from the refs so far this series.
Yeah.
So shout out to you.
Yeah, it was
refs.
much better.
I'm very happy
Much
with you.
better. A lot of charges. The Raptors took a lot of charges.
Yes,
Yeah,
we did.
man.
Because
Especially in that
actually
first half.
called them.
Yeah.
We've been taking charges. They didn't call them
Yeah.
before.
And also quick shout out to Chris Boucher. I think Chris did amazing all
Yeah.
series. I think he was a problem, dude. Like,
Only 16 minutes from tonight, which is odd. I thought he played a lot
yeah.
better
It's
than that.
just because we had to keep pressure in the game.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed with how Chris played. I think he's just such a solid bench piece for us. He's really discovered what the role he needs to play is on the floor.
Yeah,
and
he's
the thing
embraced
is
it.
that his role can often change from game to game, and he does a very good job at adjusting and recognizing what exactly he's supposed to do. And like he knows, like if he's got that three on the 3-point line, like if he's on the 3-point line and he's wide open, he can take it. But there's been a couple of times like he's got guys out to contest him, and he's like, I'm gonna give it up, and he makes the right play, and it's like, good for you, Chris, because that is
Good
not a
job,
good shot.
Chris.
But yeah, I think I don't know. There's a lot to be optimistic about with this team.
Yeah. Maybe not for the series, but for
But like
the
long
future.
term.
Yeah, long term. And like, listen, man, we finished as the 5 seed, and the Cleveland Cavaliers didn't even make the playoffs, man.
That's weird to think about.
Like, I mean, yeah, they
Yeah.
literally didn't even qualify because of the play-in
I feel so
tournament.
bad for Cleveland fans.
Yeah, man, and
It
see,
was so
like,
exciting for them, and then their team started dropping like flies.
exactly. And see, I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. I think one thing we also should mention right now, we talked about this last night, but is the age of our team. We're one of the youngest teams in the NBA right now. And we went up against, the Philadelphia 76ers, who are
One of the older teams.
one of
I
the
think.
older teams,
Yeah.
and a team that's full of vets, man. Tobias Harris is a veteran in the league.
Embiid's a veteran now.
Embiid's
They're all veterans.
Yeah, Embiid's a veteran.
Except for
Danny
Maxey.
Green's a veteran. James Harden's a veteran. Not so much George Niang, but like,
I mean, he's been around, just not
yeah,
playing well.
Exactly. and like a lot of these guys have been in and around the league, whereas we have a lot of the guys who were getting major minutes this game were guys who have just like Gary just got real minutes this year. Precious just got real minutes this year. OG could arguably just got like the realest minutes this year as the responsibility. I wouldn't say real minutes. I'd say more responsibility.
Yeah.
As a player, and guys who are even still new to the team. So. Like, I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the future, and
And I just want to say, Scotty, I think the odds are in his favor to win Rookie of the Year, and 9 of the
too.
past 12 Rookie of the Years have went on to become multiple-time All-Stars. So,
Really, who hasn't? MCW.
Mike Carter Williams, Brogdon, and Tyreek Evans.
If I had my way, Brogdon would be a multi All-Star.
What's your? This is why we don't do it your
he
way.
wasn't terrible. Malcolm
I
Brogdon's not
thought.
terrible.
I know.
He's not-
Injuries. I feel like injuries have just kind
Yeah.
of hurt him.
I don't know.
I love Malcolm
he was
Brogdon.
He was like a 23-year-old rookie. He
Yeah.
he's not an All-Star.
I wanted Malcolm Brogdon on the Raptors every
He also
offseason.
won Rookie of the Year. This is the worst rookie class that
Hey,
year.
don't do my boy Malcolm.
No, but dude,
It was awful.
he averaged 10 points and 4 assists and won Rookie of the Year, and that was the same year as like
Embiid.
the All NBA team that year, or All Rookie team that year was like Billy Hernan Gomez, Yogi Ferrell was on it, Brogdon, Brandon Ingram was on the second team, Jaylen Brown didn't even make it.
Yogi Ferrell.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
Saric was literally third in Rookie of the Year voting that year. That was Embiid's first year.
Yeah. The reason Embiid didn't win it was because he only played like 30
games, but he was still in the top 3. He only
Marquise
played 30
Chris.
games. Marquise Chris, yeah.
Willie Hernan Gomez, man. He was a fine player in New York. Not great.
He's-
Not good, but
yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
That's tough. Wow.
All right.
Wow, that's tough.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, this series isn't over. We still have potentially one more
But
game left.
The odds aren't in our favor.
Yeah, the odds are not in our favor, but
Just
I
win
think
one.
I think this is the podcast where if we're really going to talk about anything, it's going to be this game, and and there's a lot of great things to take away from it. I'm very excited for next season. I'm excited to see Scotty keep advancing in his skill level, and I am curious to see what we do in the offseason. I don't know if we'll make any big moves really at all, but
Well, let's hold this talk. The series is actually over. Then we'll go into the future.
sure. But yeah, I guess that wraps it up. Anything else, boys?
Not for me.
Nope.
All right. So, everybody, thank you guys for tuning into the RapChat podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcasts, make sure to leave us a rating. And also, please leave us a review. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at RapChat Podcast, where we post new clips of the show every single week. I'm your host, Luke Dick.
I'm Elias Eldridge.
I'm Sam Kenny.
Peace out.
Peace.
Peace.